Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today is Bryce Butkevich. I may have spelled that wrong. He's going to correct me. And we're talking about an awesome program right now called the Dragon Boat Racing. It's quite prevalent here in BC, Canada, in Vancouver, and we're talking about the Victorian chapter here. And the beautiful thing about it is that the particular people we're talking about today are the people who have had cancer, and they're out there boating. They're in recovery, they're embracing life, they're bringing more awareness of cancer prevention, cancer support. And it's also showing us that any form of disease that you have is an attitude in getting well again, and that not giving up, not giving in, saying, okay, this is just a challenge. How am I going to beat it? What am I going to do? And then stepping into celebration of life and just seeing how much you can do in life while giving back to others. So Bryce is a coach there. He is a booker. He does everything. The umbrella with everything that you do underneath it, he's that. But he gets out there with the people in the boat and helps them row themselves to their own celebration, to their own recovery, to their own awareness. And dragon boating is wonderful to watch. It's very, very exciting. And it takes hours and hours and hours of dedication and training to get there for that one day of that race where everybody comes out and supports them. So we're going to support them here today, but we're going to actually find out why he thinks it's so important. He hasn't got cancer himself, but why he thinks it's so important to support this cause and exactly the ripple effect that it has on everybody, even as a community. Welcome to the show, Bryce.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, dragon boating, I've known a few people in Vancouver that did it, and of course it's hard work. It's physically demanding, and the hours and everything else, but the dedication behind it is really high because it's a self-achievement for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So I always say to the team I coach MS Warriors team. So a lot of them have MS. A lot, or in the supporters of MS are in the boat as well. And what we're trying to put together with the cancer survivors team is a very much similar kind of thing. Supporters and survivors in the boat together. But what it means to get out on the water, I always say to my team, you're on the water. There's nothing you can do about what's on the land. It's your hour and a half of practice to just be out there and, be with yourself, be with your team. And it's a nice moment to disconnect kind of from the craziness of life a little bit.
It's a camaraderie thing, isn't it? You're all in this together, no matter where you're coming from or what you're battling on land. In that boat, you're in it together, supporting each other. It's a team triumph of that support.
Right. Yeah. And dragon boat specifically, I more than any other sport I've seen, you have to work together. There's 20 of you in the boat, 20 to 24. There's close contact. You're shoulder to shoulder, and you have to be in time. So you have to move as one unit, which is really a powerful message. Teamwork, camaraderie, as you said.
Yeah. And that it's also when you're looking at a recovery from anything or living with a disease, you feel very much alone sometimes, that it's just you and it's your world that's coming apart. And then when you meet other people that have also have these challenges and you realize they're in that same battle, and that you realize the support and the people you need around you, not to go, oh, poor you, but to go, okay, how can I empower you? Because part of the healing, and cancer very much can be cured, but a great deal of it is the attitude, because we know that cancer is an 80% emotional disease. MS, I think, is more to do with the genes and, born with that. But it's showing that we must not define ourselves by the disease. Right? That is just one of the challenges you have. This is the parcel that you're carrying with you. You don't have to be defined by it. But with other people's support, love, and camaraderie, you can find a way through it, or certainly living with it in a way that it doesn't consume you.
Yeah, yeah, it's precisely. Yeah, that's precisely. We always say, you know, it's a chance to be part of something bigger than the disease, to take the focus off of that, you know, that good fight that people are doing, to just give them a chance to, you know, have the focus shift to something as a goal, your chance to reclaim a part of your life that's not to do with what you're going through, kind of
Right.
like, yeah.
Yeah, because the focus does when you're sick, you know, that's it. You know, you would go through the why me, and then what did I do wrong, and what can I do? Is this the end? I mean, there's so many gamuts of emotions that people go through.
Sure.
And, you know, I've known so many people, and my sister included, who, you know, quote, they gave her the death sentence, you know, you're meant to die from this. And she's still around. You know, I just come out of hospital again where, you know, she's a walking miracle. They couldn't operate on her, and the kind of problem she has is one of these things, if they don't operate, they don't know how people could survive. And here she is, 76, still going. So I think attitude is really big in something like this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, what you can add through your emotional well-being, through, you know, your spiritual well-being, it's a huge factor of combating the challenges you're going through. And in the meantime, you're enjoying a much higher, you know, quality of life. You have something that you're working with other people, and the dragon boat community, the support is phenomenal. They're very passionate people, so
yes,
they're very excited and passionate people from all walks of life, and it's
right.
You know,
How long does it take? Because you know, the dragon boat is August here in Victoria, but is it only once a year?
The race season is every summer here, but some people practice year round. Most people, what they do is they start up in the spring, April, and then they start practices, and then they, in July and August, are most of the races. So that's normal, but some people choose to go year round to, you know, keep their skills up through the winter, and that's pretty formidable with the rain and everything they practice.
You've got to be dedicated there.
But there's, you know, there's
it's
something
people like me walking along the shore looking at people like that going, idiot.
What?
They're just dedicated.
They're tenacious. Yeah, they're tenacious. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's when you find something you love, right? You know, weather be damned, you know, know what it does for your soul and your spirit out there. And, you know, whether it's pelting down or not, it's something very cathartic for you, and you need to get out there. Because we also know that water is something that's a wonderful conduit. There's something about water that is so healing. And it's you know, the metaphorical of washing things away, you know, the tide sweeping things away, changing the tide. It's just the whole sense of movement to do with water. It has such a depth to it that I think actually doing things on water or in water is very, very much of a cathartic and healing approach to things.
Yeah, many of our members in any team that paddle out of our paddling club, they feel that, and it's something that's a little difficult to describe, but when you're out on the water, it's just a really lovely moment. It's like I said, it's part about being separated from everything online, but part of it is just being with the water, as you say, too.
Yeah, and I love, you know, swimming, and you know, when you're in that water, and I'm fortunate I can lay on the water. If I know there's nobody going to jump on top of me, I can just take a nap. And it's just something about that water rippling underneath you and just buoying you. It's like, I've got you, you know, and you think about all those people in a little canoe. Or whatever. Is it, do you call it a canoe for the dragon boating? Or
we just call it a dragon boat. Yeah.
Dragon boat, but it's kind of shaped like a canoe in many ways.
A long canoe with 2 rows of seats. So you have up to 12 on each side, and you sit next to your seat partner, and you paddle in time with them, as well as with all the seats in front and behind you. 2 rows, 24 people total. In races it's just 20, but a good chunk of people, and so a lot of there's that team energy in the boat too, right? And you talked about being in water. Some people are concerned about water safety, but Dragon boating is one of the most secure vessels you could be in. They're quite wide and
Mm-hmm.
quite stable, so it's a really nice option for people if they're a little bit tentative about water in that respect, to find a way to get out on the water. It's quite safe and quite calm, and yeah, calm
And you,
not in the racing, but
right, no, and you're in the
calm
racing,
when you're
it's
on the,
serious
yeah,
business,
you get a
right?
bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did the dragon boating come about through, because, I know in England, you
yeah.
had the boats, for the, college and
Hmm.
Cambridge and Oxford,
Sure.
compete. Did it come from there, or is it a native Indian thing? I'm not quite sure. Where did
Yeah.
dragon boating come about?
So dragon boating is a traditional Chinese sport.
Mm-hmm.
Big in Hong Kong. The racing still in Hong Kong is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Very like high caliber international competitions. Um, so that's kind of the motherland, if you will, of dragon boating. How it moved to Vancouver and the west coast of Canada was really following Expo 86. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there was an exhibition team in 86, and then that started up, an interest, a local interest, and it's been going on from there. And then there was, I can't remember the name of the doctor that in Vancouver that connected breast cancer and dragon boating. So the positive effects of fighting breast cancer with dragon boating in Vancouver, and here more than any other part of the world, there's been a connection between breast cancer specifically and dragon boating. And there was Keith and Karen Wilson who started up the cancer survivors team. They were very much involved with the Island Breaststrokers team, which was the first breast cancer survivors team in Victoria. And so this team, the cancer survivors, is opening that up to all forms of cancer. Is the kind of the next step is where
Right,
we want to take it.
right.
So that's
It's
kind of how
always
it came here.
right. There's always
Mhm.
somebody that sees an innovative idea, right?
Yeah.
I had another cancer group on that this woman professionally kind of orchestrate choirs, etc.
Right.
And she started a choir of cancer survivors, and they would
That's
wear a
amazing.
pink cape, these
Yeah.
black outfits and pink things, and a
Yeah.
lot of them really couldn't sing very well. But
Uh,
the fact that they were the cancer survivors going out there and singing and just
mm,
in the joy of it,
yeah.
that's what people really got behind. And so, do you see people really getting behind this because they are cancer survivors or
Yeah.
MS? That the cheerleading and you go for it.
Yeah. On race day, some of those outfits are fantastic. Some of the names are very cheeky. There's
Mhm.
one, we have a visually impaired team, and they call themselves Out of Sight, which is kind of like,
I like that. I
and they
like
love
it.
it. That was
Yeah.
their idea, right? So, and then the cancer survivors team want to be called, the name that was chosen was Staying Alive, which is
Mm,
pretty great. And there's been
yes.
some talk about doing warm-ups to the song and all
Stay
this kind of
alive,
stuff.
stay alive.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Do, 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 do. Row, 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 row,
yeah.
staying alive. Yes.
Like it's amazing the amount of creativity and the heart that goes into it. Fundraisers, we have something called the Spirit Awards at the Victoria Dragon Boat Festival. So every week a team can post a video or do something team spirit related, and then the winning team gets a pizza party at the festival. So that's something we facilitate, but a lot of times it comes from the teams themselves too, right? They just come up with these
Yes.
amazing ideas, and yeah.
Well, again, it goes back to when somebody's being given, with doctors, it always feels like a death sentence,
Yeah.
rather than a challenge and we can beat this. And then for people to obviously go through their initial thing, but then to be a part of this, never mind, the spirit that it lifts and the camaraderie that's there, but
Hmm.
physically it must be so empowering for their bodies because they're
Yeah.
strengthening their body, which then gives them a better chance to fight whatever it is they have.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's as a coach, I see that with the MS Warriors team. So people that think they can't do something, and we just try little bit by little, and that strength comes,
Mm.
that awareness that they can do it comes, and it's been impressive to watch. One lady in our team, we have a support chair that we attach in the boat because for back support, to help her to paddle. And she's there every practice. She's coming to the races. This weekend we're racing the Nanaimo Dragon Boat Festival. She's signed up. She's going, and I've watched her, get every week a little stronger. And even if it's just keeping in time, like it's just the basic stuff, and they work with those things, and it just grows from there. It's pretty amazing.
It's really awesome when you see people who didn't think they could, then suddenly realize they can. And, then it just expands to everything else in their life, doesn't it? It's like, well, if I could do this, I can do that. And then you suddenly see them, reach out to do other things in life, because it's like, well, I've accomplished that. What's next? The bravery, the camaraderie, the strength and the courage to go, there's so much more for me out there. I can do it. I can just transfer the same strength and the same courage to something else.
And as coaches, as people with the paddling club, our job is just to facilitate that, right? So make sure they have, we put, the team is there, the practices are there, the instruction is there. That's really our role, but they do the work, and they love doing the work. The MS team that I coach, they love to be, they always want to have a harder practice. They want to, let's go a little harder. And the same thing with the Island Breaststrokers team that's out there right now. They're an impressive group of ladies, and when I see them all in their matching PFDs and uniforms and caps at the festivals, they're all paddling in time. They look pretty impressive.
Now, why have you taken this path?
It's an interesting question. I got involved in dragon boating through what we call a corporate team. So occasionally we have corporate groups that put a team together as a kind of team building exercise. So I was working the hospitality industry, and our hotel put in a team, and that's how I got involved. From there, you end up finding a team that's looking for a couple people. They talk to you down on the docks, and then you get involved in that. And I've kind of been exploring the another sport that we do, which is outrigger canoeing, more of a distance sport, but keeping in with the dragon boat community too, because it's those festivals are such a fun time. There's music, food, there's entertainment. The racing, of course, itself is fun to watch. So there's an energy around dragon boating, which, once a lot of people find once they get involved a little bit, they stay, because it's pretty empowering, pretty fun to be around.
Right.
Those kind of people, they're so, great. Yeah. They're inspiring to be around, and it's lovely to be with them.
So you got hooked in on the actual racing, but then, from there, it's now you're coaching people with quote disabilities.
Right.
It must be a totally, there's the reward and the achievement of of doing the boating yourself, but you're a healthy young man. But how has it affected you seeing people with these, in some cases, life-threatening, diseases that they're fighting, and to see them find such strength and courage and tenacity in this? What has it meant to you?
Yeah, I think I'm right now at a point in my life where I don't take anything for granted anymore. And I know that I wake up and I'm personally not faced with those challenges that a lot of people I know are. And I don't take my health for granted like I once did. So seeing those teammates, people on my team, people on other teams who are, going out there, it means a lot to me, just because I know it's just situations could be different, and that would be my path, right? I would be working through that as well. And it's incredibly inspiring to see how they meet those challenges every day and keep the attitude positive, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure it's not always like that. I know that. But to have that opportunity once or twice a week to provide an environment that they can be, they can engage with their community and have that positive experience, that means a lot to me, to be able to be a part of providing that. So, yeah.
There's something very, very satisfying of knowing that you've helped somebody along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think this is
yep.
why we see, we see so many people either, volunteering or changing the direction in life. I've
Hmm.
interviewed so many people that were in corporate world or this or that, and then
Hmm.
just realized that, yes, sure, they had a great, you know, six-figure income and
Hmm.
everything that went with it, but they were heart hungry and
Hmm.
and stepped into something that fed the heart more, fed the spirit more, that had more meaning to it, and now they
Yeah.
feel completely enriched, and
Hmm.
abundant for doing it. And I think this is what we're seeing so much more now, is that
Hmm.
people are realizing the value is in what you can contribute, how you can be of service. So
True.
volunteers, I'm sure you have a lot of volunteers that come and work out at this, and are they the
Yeah.
same people that keep coming back every year because they love it so much?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Mhm.
we could not do it without them. At the Victoria Dragon Boat Festival, last year there was 260 volunteers, so there's a
Wow.
lot. This year, we're hoping to get up around the 200, again, to 250 mark, but um, in that range. And they do everything, right? They hold the boats as some of these crews get in and out. They help us out with marshaling, so making sure the right teams line up for the right races. Event security, controlling traffic, all that kind of stuff. And the festival, that 3-day festival could not run without
Right.
volunteers, absolutely. And those volunteers you mentioned that come back every year,
Hmm.
they just bring that amount of knowledge,
Yeah.
which is invaluable. And
Right.
all of our new volunteers just help do all those little things too. And every year we have new volunteers which just go above and beyond, and it's amazing. We don't I meet them for the first time and they go out there and they just knock it out of
Yeah.
the park, right? They're amazing. So yeah, it's great, and it's great to meet people. That it's great to share the dragon boat community as well
Hmm.
with the volunteers. They're not racing, but they get a chance to see how great the
Impactful it is.
community is too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, if you
So
remember, our Olympics in 2010, I mean,
yeah,
how many volunteers they had.
right.
And, that was, pretty heavy, 2 solid weeks, and the meet and greet around the world. And we really did extremely well,
Hmm.
on every
Hmm.
avenue in the Olympics of hosting. And,
Yeah.
the thing is that people really do like to be a part of something that does serve community, that does serve other people. And
Hmm.
when you look at it, you look at somebody with MS or cancer or anything, kind of people think maybe the underdog,
Hmm.
because they haven't got everything else everybody else does. And people love to see them succeed,
Yeah.
love to see them, beat their own odds. It's not even a question if they win.
Hmm.
It's the fact that they're participating that
Yeah.
is so inspiring to people.
Yeah. And that same attitude that we have with some of our racers who are facing challenges, we have that in volunteers as well. I have volunteers that come with their own physical
Hmm.
challenges, with many different kind of challenges, and we have a discussion about what they can and cannot do. And there's always a place for them. And they love to be part of it. Being part of volunteering is part of something bigger than what they're going through as
Yeah.
well. So
Yes.
it's similar in a way to some of our racers that
Hmm.
go through that.
Yes, if you can't get in the boat, what else can you do? Because
Yeah.
there's always support needed, and
Mhm.
it could even be things that you do at home, licking envelopes, of sending out
Yeah.
flyers, whatever the case is. Is that
Sure.
it's anybody in life, we all face some form of limitations, of things we cannot do or
Hmm.
choose not to do. But
Hmm.
it's not, don't focus on what you can. Well, I couldn't ever do that, but what
Hmm.
else can you do?
Yeah.
What else are you willing to do? Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're willing to do that, there is going to be something out there that you can do. So
Yeah.
and I think people understand when they are volunteering, when they're a part of that community, of what they get out of it.
Hmm.
Being a part of it, being a part of community, that pride. That pride of a 3-day event that lifts everybody's hearts, that really supports people out there. Really spirited. Everybody goes
Yeah.
away feeling happy, and to know that you've been a part of that in some way,
Yeah.
something we can walk around, and we like being proud as Canadians, don't we?
Yes. True. Yeah, and like you said before, it's true. Like when you see those as a volunteer, when you see those teams that um, are representative of a challenge, you're part of that process too.
Yes.
You also are facilitating what they're going through and what them pushing past what they ever thought that they could do. So I've seen a lot of volunteers who on the site, they're holding the boat and then they realize that they ask about the team and they realize that that's a cancer survivors team, and that means a lot to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we hold a breast cancer um, ceremony on the Sunday, where all the boats line up and there's some music played and some carnations tossed in the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's symbolic of that connection with breast cancer that I was talking about earlier. And so those moments are really moving for people who are just witnessing that. And yeah.
I mean, today you can't go through life without knowing somebody that has
Yeah.
had cancer or passed from cancer, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
almost become as common as a cold.
Mm-hmm.
It is a preventable disease, and of course, it is
Mm-hmm.
very much an emotional disease as well as environmental.
Mm-hmm.
And attitude is a huge thing in life. It's attitude and gratitude. It's
Mm-hmm.
being grateful for what you do have, not emphasizing on what you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Having the right attitude to that. I've still got life within me, and I'm going to live it right until I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being grateful for that every moment, because
Yeah.
when we look back at the greats and everybody that's faced those challenges, and if one-legged or this or that, whatever the case might be,
Mm-hmm.
we are so behind them just sheerly from the that spirit, that attitude, that I am going to beat this, or I'm going to do it, I'm going to attempt it.
Yeah.
And we love that, because we love seeing what some people call the impossible being done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. It's and it happens every day at those practices and every day at those races. And like you said, so many other examples too outside, even dragon boating outside. But I guess in my position, I get to see it every day at practice, and
Yes.
so that's amazing. And those, I'm working there at the club too, and those regulars that come through the door, same thing. Even outside of practice, just they come through the door with that. This is their time to
Yeah.
go out and have fun, and they've got that energy every time they come in. It's really infectious, and it's
You can
amazing.
see somebody, come in feeling the burden of the day.
Yeah.
And then when they come back out,
Yeah.
from after boating, it's like, I've let it
Yeah.
all go. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is, whether it is drag boating or anything else, we've got to find what it is that is
Mm-hmm.
our downloader. It could just
Yeah.
simply be a walk in nature or whatever it is, but find something that releases your tension,
Yeah.
and that sets you back on that path of just living life and appreciation. And we don't, that's actually a huge reason why we are seeing so many more dis-ease in the world, is because of
Mm-hmm.
the anxiety from the tension and everything.
Yeah.
And people just don't know how to relax, just hum-ha and meditate, and you're wound up like this. So
Mm-hmm.
physically doing something that is spending your body emotion
Mm-hmm.
and allowing your anxiety to release, allowing that spirit to come back in you, is so healthy for you on all levels, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the combo, the physical exertion, which is very releasing.
Mm-hmm.
The water we talked about, the
Yeah,
camaraderie we talked about. It's really that package, that everything together.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And it's I mean, again, it's something about the water, isn't it? It's that
yeah,
swish as you hear things going, the paddles are swish, and
yeah.
when you look at water and you think you can dive right into it,
Mm-hmm.
but yet it can hold these massive, great big ships and
Yeah,
everything else, and you just go like, it's miraculous water on so many levels. It's a
mm-hmm.
mystery,
Yeah,
and it's something to be in awe of,
yeah.
because it also has a temperament. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be
Yeah,
careful of that.
yeah,
Are there any times where you go, no, the weather is just too choppy for us, we're
yeah.
not going out on there?
Oh yeah, we have safety protocols in
Hmm.
place, and has a lot to do with wind.
Yeah.
There's
And we are windy in the
Yeah.
city of Victoria.
It can be. We certain level of wind or wind gust. We won't. We'll
Right,
close the docks. It's just not safe,
right,
because we don't want, we want people to have a safe, enjoyable time out there. We
right.
don't, so and within safety limits as well. It's always up to the team's discretion what they're comfortable with. We always work with that too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and Nanaimo coming up, the Dragon Boat Festival this weekend in Nanaimo, is notoriously a windy race. So
Hmm.
I've been practicing with my team how to meet some of those
It's
challenges.
great if it's behind you, but not if it's in
Yeah,
front of you,
yeah,
or if it's
yeah,
going sideways.
yeah, and which it often is. Yeah, it's very true.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Just another challenge to beat. And again, it's like,
yeah.
it feels hairy when you're in it, but then when
Hmm.
you get through it, you go, wow, what we
Even
did.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it
Yeah.
was a weather challenge and you got through it, that's and sometimes that's what my team and so many of the teams are so competitive, right? They have that
Mm.
competitive spirit, a good competitive spirit, and if they can capitalize in adverse conditions,
Yeah.
they can pull ahead, and that means a
Yes.
lot to them if they're able to stay focused. A lot of times in race day, you'll have four boats lined up racing down the race course, and 4 to 5 boats, and there's all the yelling going on, the counting, what we call focus calls. So 10 hard strokes now, and all this kind of stuff, and you're gonna finish now, and all this kind of stuff. Uh, they have this incredible ability, we call it focus in the boat, to just bring your attention back
Mm.
inside your boat, what your crew is doing. So to kind of just push all of that other exterior noise and weather and all the distractions away from your focus, and just keep your eyes on what you're there to do, is really great.
A succinctness, right? And it's
Mhm.
actually kind of everybody becomes the one machine.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, so it's
yeah.
and in one person you can only get so much strength. When you've got 10,
Yeah,
now you really are looking at the power of coming
yeah.
together. Is I love dance, and when you watch these
Hmm.
synchronotic dances going on of people being in sync with each other,
Hmm.
there's something so beautiful in the art of it.
Yeah.
Because you can have people doing this and doing that, and it's all very nice. But when you have that kind of river of it, where everybody is doing the same, it's a different fluidity. And so when you're seeing in people in the boat,
Hmm.
everybody focused, everybody in sync with each other, there's a
Hmm.
rhythm to it, isn't there?
Oh yeah,
So in a way, it's
yeah,
it's it's your own musical instrument, your own dance that you're doing
yeah.
there.
I agree with you that in regards to dance and in regards to dragon boating, it's that rhythm with
Hmm.
that everybody being in time. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. You're
Hmm.
watching a crew go by from the side on the water, and they're all hitting together. When by hitting, I mean they insert their blades at the front, and they
Hmm.
pull, and then they exit, and they hit. They all it's like a well-oiled machine, and
Hmm.
we we often get them to close their eyes and to feel
Yes.
the rhythm, right? So there's that rhythm of the boat as you push and glide. So they, with eyes closed, they have to sense that, and then we make them open their eyes, and they're surprised that they're not all
Yeah.
tangled up.
You're right. Yeah,
They know
exactly.
more. Their body knows more about that rhythm than their brain. It's
Right.
not just a brain thing. It's a sense
Well,
of the
you
rhythm.
said there's a blind group as well. So other than having
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
somebody in the boat that's saying we're going this way, because you do
Hmm.
need the direction, I can
Hmm.
imagine that sense of attunement of
Yeah,
everybody being connected to each other is very high alert on them, because that's the way they live in life anyway.
yeah, and they, with their sense of being a unit, of being
Hmm.
feeling that rhythm, and you know, can often have extremely excellent timing. It's
Yes.
it's it's impressive.
Yeah.
I and in outrigger, the sport I'm doing some racing in this season, I have been beaten by as a young crew, I've been beaten by an older team in a race more times than I want to think about, because they know the rhythm,
Hmm.
they can read the water conditions.
Yes.
They have that knowledge, that sense,
Yeah.
which you can only get through
Right.
years of paddling as a crew
Right.
together. And yeah,
It's not
and
always about the brute strength, is it?
no, no, absolutely, and
Right.
that's what I love about this sport. Um, it's very it's not biased in that way, which is really great. Anybody can come, and if you don't feel that you're, really can add that pressure, that strength, if you can just focus on being in time and being in that rhythm, it's amazing how far it goes. It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
So it really hits so many buttons, doesn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah.
strength, endurance, it's team building, it's camaraderie,
Mm-hmm.
it's celebration.
Mm-hmm.
It's the testing of your own limits. And then
Mm-hmm.
for people who have any form of illness or preventing it,
Mm-hmm.
it's body endurance, strengthening,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also strengthening the mind.
Yeah.
Of what you can do, because you learn that together we can overcome, we can get through these waters. And I think it changes the chemistry, in the mind as well,
Mm-hmm.
of not allowing things to get in your way. So I can imagine that for people that are even maybe on the edge, not quite through cancer yet, it would be a wonderful way, if they got the strength to do it, to push themselves through.
Yeah, that body mind connection
Hmm.
is a powerful thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it goes both ways, right? So
Yes.
sometimes you need the body to initiate the process,
Yeah.
by getting out there and paddling, and that helps the mind. And sometimes it's the other way, but a lot of times the mind is a funny thing to control. And what we can control
Yes.
is our bodies, right?
Yes.
So we can, and that's a great thing about having a team. I don't know, how many times you've said, as a I'm going to go exercise by myself, and then you
Hmm.
decide kind of not to.
Right.
You're like,
Yes.
well, I'm not really feeling it, that kind of stuff. But if you have that team to be responsible, and you're meeting on those dates at those practice times, and you don't want to let them down,
Right.
you will show up, and you
You'll
will get
push
in the
yourself
boat.
through. Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
No excuse,
amazing.
because you're letting the team down.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you really find out yourself, um, oh, I feel awful. I don't think I can do it. And then I'm going to turn up. I'm going to tell everybody it's awful. And then you get into that automation of the sickness, right? And
yeah,
you're now in that state of being. And at the end of it is like, gosh, I feel great.
yeah, yeah.
So we
You're
do.
always operating on that, like pushing
Hmm.
yourself, your
Yeah.
limit, right?
Yeah.
And you can do more than you
Yes.
think you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially
Mm.
when you get into something that is rhythmical, that you have done, you're getting into that zone.
Yeah.
And that means you're out of the suffering zone, you're into this other zone. And
Yeah.
so when you come back, it's going, oh, well, where did suffering go? It must have
Yeah.
left me.
Yeah. It's great. It's great to see it happen. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, this is, about the cancer ones today.
Hmm.
Although, with MS, I know a wonderful artist who's has MS, and people go to pick up the paintings. They're so surprised that she paints everything from her wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I know somebody with spina bifida that has her own talk show. And
Yeah.
people with no arms. Or I had a blind guy that went to New York as a blind blogger on his own in New York on New Year's Eve.
Wow.
And the thing is that, yes, you may have obstacles.
Hmm.
Everybody does somewhere along the line. Even the most healthiest person may
Yeah.
have a mental obstacle that's in their way. But
Sure.
the thing is you don't know what you can do until you get out and try. Now,
Hmm.
maybe dragon boating is for you. Maybe it isn't. Maybe
Hmm.
it's purely being the volunteer and being a part of it.
Hmm.
Um, or the fundraising, for the Cancer Society or the MS. It's stepping out of our comfort zones and pushing ourselves a little further to be a
Hmm.
part of something. Because I think one of the detriments to humanity right now is everything's trying to divide us and
Hmm.
segregate us. And we realize that we are so much stronger when we come together as a community.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and like within the boat is a microcosm of the larger community, which is at these races, like in Victoria, we'll see people from lots of teams from Portland and from Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
from Alberta, which is province next. There's lots of people from all over. This year, the World Dragon Boat Championships are in Hungary,
Mm-hmm.
of all places. Yeah, so that's really cool.
Yes.
And so lots of our teams are going to Hungary. Um, yeah, so it's a very inclusive environment for sure.
I'm just imagining, how did they get the boat on the plane?
They,
I think logistics.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, they will have there for sure. But yeah.
um, Again, I think it's when
Hmm.
somebody finds that something,
Yeah.
right now we're talking about dragon boating. When you find that something, and you're
Mm-hmm.
willing to work through the initial pain, because I imagine initially you're using muscles that you're not normally used to using. If you have
Yeah.
been sick, you're still weak. There
Yeah.
is the strength endurance that you've got to build up. So don't give up on yourself. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
initially don't push yourself too far. We don't want people to, you know, flip over and then damage themselves. But just seeing people going from, I don't know if I can do it, to being one of the regulars out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all
Yeah.
around, that's something to cheer about, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's all of our coaches were trained to, there's a difference between good sore and bad sore.
Yes, yes,
And,
yes.
technique that supports, a lot of people think paddling sports in general are an arm sport, but
Mhm.
they're your whole body. You're using your
Yes,
legs to push,
yeah.
your
The
back muscles,
core.
the core. So
Yeah.
we emphasize using those big muscle groups. So as a safe way to paddle. Um, and of course, I always tell my team, make sure you go do your stretches, have an Epsom salt bath, whatever,
Yes.
your personal care,
Mhm.
hydrate before races. And so we're trained to make sure that people do things with technique that are safe, that
Mhm.
they have a care regimen in place that will help them through it. Because it is a test of your physical, like we're
Yeah.
talking about too. So there's a whole other side, a support side to that to go with it.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that
you don't have to have been a sporty person. You've just got
no,
to kind of come with a willingness to, you know,
yeah,
initially, yes, you're going to feel the pain, you know,
hmm
because you are using muscles, you are building a strength you haven't had before.
hmm
But it's, you know, once you've got into over that and your
hmm
muscles have got used to it and you're looking after yourself, then it's just a question every time you're going out there, you're strengthening and strengthening and strengthening.
yeah,
So it's,
bit by bit, yeah,
yeah, bit by bit, no matter what you
hmm
do, no matter what you do, it's going to initially be hard.
yeah,
But just, you know, and you've also got to know your own body limits. You know when the pain is beyond just, you know, the initial pushing it.
yeah,
So know your own body, know how to take
yeah.
care of yourself. Now, is there an age limit for dragon boating? Do you have kids,
Um,
or is it, you know, what age do you go up to?
so at the older end of the range, no limit.
Right.
We have people in their 90s out
Wow,
there
really?
doing, yeah,
Wow.
they're impressive. People in terms of kids, we're putting together a youth team right now, so we're hoping to get that off the ground on the 16th as well. So the age limit there would be between 12 and 18.
Hmm.
So, and we look at that as good youth mentorship,
Yes.
developing leaders within the group,
Teamwork,
camaraderie again,
and
all that.
also, you know, when you think
Mhm.
about that age group and the growth, you know,
Yeah,
spurt that they have, if they're developing the right muscles as they grow as well, you
sure,
know, that
sure.
is something that's going to serve them better. And of course, it's
Yeah,
open to boys and girls. There's
yeah.
no thing there,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Like in race at race festivals, you can race as a women's team, as a men's team, as a mixed team, as a masters team. We call old past a certain age a masters team.
Hmm.
A lot of masters teams race in our open categories, which means that they're racing against younger teams. And like I
Hmm.
say, I've seen it happen so many times that they're just whistle right past them. So
More
there's
because of the technique and
yeah,
succinctness rather than the strength.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. It's amazing.
Hmm.
So we always say, if you're pulling at different times, you're individually pulling the weight of the boat and the paddlers, but if you pull together, you're sharing that
Right.
work, right? So you just end up going faster together. But yeah, no age limit, no, and regardless of what you're going through, we have teams that work for what you're going through. And specifically the cancer survivors team, we've had, so this past Monday, the second was the first practice, and we had a good 10 people, 13 people come out and had never met each other
Mhm.
before, completely different walks of life, so yeah, it's amazing. You just put a group of people together with one common goal, and
Mhm.
they start to relate after a while, and they find their own connections to the dragon boat community as well. And they may go to other teams, they may stay with the team, but it's a starting place for them,
It's,
right?
yeah,
A safe starting
yeah.
place. Yeah.
And the fact that you do have, MS and blind and cancer, for
Hmm.
anybody is facing a challenge in their life, it's not like, well, that's all going to be full of healthy people, it's
No.
not for me. So your doors are open to anybody, no matter what they're facing.
Yeah.
It becomes their own personal challenge, um,
Yeah.
and because you're there to support
Yeah.
them and whatever. And that's wonderful to see. I mean, there was a time period that if you had any illness or disability, it's like, we don't want to see you. And
Yeah.
now we're actually celebrating people who do have this, that live with the right attitude, gratitude, and
Hmm.
and tenacity to live and still be, a very productive member of society. I
Hmm.
think, the thing, and you're going back to the older people very often, as you say, nose through, because
Hmm.
when you look at the wisdom of succinctness and in the rhythm of life, especially if they've all been doing it for a while and they're in that rhythm, the edge is not necessarily the strokes are broader, it's in that technique and in that rhythm. And I think this is something that is wonderful to see, because North America is a society that's inclined to dismiss seniors.
Hmm.
um, you
It's
know
true. It's true.
and
Yeah.
disregard the elderly is like, you're old, what have I got to do with you, and forget all the wisdom and knowledge and foresight that we have, because we've been there. Our
Hmm.
backpack is filled with a lot of knowledge that can help you on your way. And so
Yeah.
when we do see people out there of all these different ages, it's a wonderful reminder to the youth
Hmm.
that yeah, we've still got it.
Hmm.
We've still got something to contribute, and there's still a lot to learn from us. And sometimes
Hmm.
maybe, not necessarily the fastest, but that succinctness and that attitude, I think, is a great one to pass on. And then when you're watching kids get in there, which, just probably all over the place at first, but then learn that succinctness and
Yeah.
that eagerness, to
Hmm.
learn. And of course, they've got the spirit there of they want to win, right? But they're winning together, or
Yeah.
they're losing together. And I
True.
think what we're looking at here is togetherness,
Yeah.
which is such a wonderful platform.
Yeah. 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 No, we do group bookings too. So a lot of times at the end of the school year, a school group will come out and try out dragon boating, and the timing is all wildly all over.
Yes.
Wild, but they're having such a good time, and then the two boats race each other at the end of the practice, and they're all gung-ho, but
Yeah. Smashing
we
into each other.
we try to keep their focus on the timing, right? And it's more important they go and have a good time, right? That they
Yes.
have a positive experience with dragon
Right.
boating
Right.
than when they want to win. But
Yes.
and we
Yeah.
try to give them the tools to win, but at the end of the day, what they're going to remember is that they went out and had a good time. And so
And they had a
the
good time with other people, and they had to
yeah.
rely on each other, which I think
Yeah.
is so important. The teamwork,
Hmm.
isn't being sheeple. It's that
Yeah.
every single one of you is a leader. There's somebody there guiding you, but
Yes.
it's, you have to work together as equals in
Yeah.
order to achieve. And I think this is wonderful, because you've got other sports where there's always the superhero, and it
Yes.
makes others feel, like they're not good enough. And here, everybody has to be on the same page and work together in succinctness in order for the team to be
Yeah.
a winner. Mm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, good
Yeah. We do.
lessons to have.
Oh yeah, we do this. Always do this fun drill with the group with the kids, where we have just the left side paddle and then just the right side paddle, just the left side. And what it does is it rocks the boat
Mm.
quite heavily side to side, and they're all screaming. And the boat is very stable, so we know
Right.
nothing's going to happen. And they are quite excited about that. And then we always say to them, if you're not paddling in time with your seat partner, the boat does more
Mm-hmm.
of this side to side rocking than it does going forward. So it's kind of a very illustrative kind of way of
Mm.
how, the point of working together to go forward
Right. Yeah.
versus
Yeah. A
wobbling around.
great
Yeah.
metaphor for life. Work together to
Yeah.
go forward. Stand up together. As
Hmm.
a winning or losing team, doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
camaraderie. You're in it together. And I think
Hmm.
it just shows us, because again, we have a society that has gone very kind of insular,
Yeah.
not part of groups, not part of teams, so much of the texting and not participating.
Yeah.
And if you learn from a very early age about teamwork, you're always going to take that building of a team wherever you go in life and realize more heads are better than one.
Yeah.
It's more creative, and you get more done, but you become a better team participant and even a team leader because of that. So it's a really good, it serves so much, doesn't it?
Yeah. Many different needs.
Very
Sure,
many
sure.
different needs, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. So tell us about the event. Where is it? When is it? How do people
Sure.
get tickets and all of that?
Sure. Yeah, for the Victoria Dragon Boat Festival is the second weekend in August. So that starts on the 10th, Friday the 10th, which is mostly it begins with the eye dotting ceremony at 1 p.m. So the Taoist priests, they dot the eyes on the dragon boat heads. There's dragon boat heads attached to the front of the boat just for races and tails, and they put the eyes on the dragon, which make it come alive. So that really begins at 1 p.m. on Friday the 10th, the festival officially. The rest of the day on Friday is entertainment, but the racing is Saturday, Sunday. So that's when you'll be seeing in the Inner Harbor here in Victoria, right down in front of the Legislative Building by the Empress
And the
Hotel.
Empress, right? Yes.
Yeah, you'll see the finish line is right there. By the Tourist Information Center, there's where the clock tower is.
Yes.
And there's the bleachers out along Ships Point, so you get a good view of the finish line. They line up further out in the harbor and race into the Inner Harbor right at the finish line. 500-meter race course, so they got their work cut out for them, and it's a fun thing to watch.
I've got a siren roar going on here over the folks. So if you're hearing anything, folks.
Yeah, so it's a really fun event on those days. In terms of volunteering, of course, volunteers will be needed all 3 days, but even prior to the festival starting on Wednesday the 8th. So everything from setting up the sites to marshalling and, like we're talking about, event safety once it gets going.
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
Even information, right? Where is it?
Oh,
What's going on? I mean, that's, half the time people are looking at, where is it?
Yeah, sure.
So it allows people to kind of really reach out and know where they want to place themselves. And of course, get there early if you want to watch the racing, so you can get a good view to see it. And of course, if you are in Victoria down, in the waterfront there are so many cool restaurants and everything else. But are there vendors for this?
Oh,
or
yeah.
do you tap into the restaurants?
There are food trucks and there are retail vendors.
Right.
So lots of our retail vendors will be selling stuff to do with water sports, water sports clothing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's other vendors there too, and great food trucks. You mentioned tickets. It is a free event and a family-friendly event, so anybody can come by the Inner Harbor and come on by, see the music entertainment. There's a kids tent for kids activities. They do crafts. Right. Dragon boat related crafts, traditional Chinese kind of crafts and stuff. Yeah. It's pretty fun.
Wonderful. And if you are listening to this and you're out of town, come on down to Victoria. There's so much to do. You can come down for the dragon boat racing, but there is so much else to do here in Victoria. It is a wonderful city, so much to see. It doesn't matter what your interest is. It pretty well will cover it here. And it's just something about that Inner Harbor, it's the wind down there is something that's so kind of invigorating and clearing, and everything around you is so beautiful, and when the sun is shining, and there's just so much to do here, so much to see, and just make a holiday out of it. Come on down, and you never know, you may see something here that you really like and want to go back and join in your own city, because we're talking about Victoria here. Vancouver has a chapter there as well. But wherever you are, just maybe this is something maybe is going on and you don't know about and you want to join. You've heard all the benefits today. It's the physical, it's the camaraderie, it's the support, it's the attitude, the gratitude, the succinctness. It strengthens the mind, strengthens the body, strengthens the community. There's so many boxes that you can tick off here, and you're not limited if you are suffering from something. If you are facing a challenge in life, there isn't closed doors to you because of that. So, if people want to reach out and actually inquire about this, where do they go?
So for the festival, the website is victoriadragonboat.com, and right in there is some contact information. There is a link to the volunteer information with an application form they can fill out. Regarding the Cancer Survivors Dragon Boat team and any other programs, the website fgpaddle.com, which stands for Fairway Gorge Paddle.com. It will have the contact information there, and you'll see my name on there, Bryce. If anyone doesn't know who to reach out to about anything we talked to today, they can reach out to me directly, and my email is on there. So
excellent.
Happy to do that.
A good event to go and watch, a good event just to get stimulated and see. But it's also in this knowledge of just knowing cancer survivors. And I don't know if any of the other teams are participating as well that have challenges. But the whole point is to know that it doesn't matter if you're healthy or you're not healthy. We all face challenges in life. And if we can learn how to master them by having that release when you're out on the water, getting some strength, physical strength that then helps release the mind, having a support team around you that are there to just have got your back, feeling you're a part of something, a community, knowing that you're doing something for your community that brings about pride. It's being a part of something instead of being alone. And I think it's very important that people look for something to participate in, and this looks like a great idea.
Yeah. Many entry points, like you were saying, to that being part of something.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. You don't have to have ever got into a boat before. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And do not let your challenge be your obstacle. You know, it's just an invitation for you to go and explore all that you can do, because you are so much more awesome than you think you are. And when we look at people, blind, MS, cancer, 90 years old, you know, whatever blockage we have is a blockage we've put there. And you just don't know what you're capable of until you go and give it a try.
Yeah.
How about giving it a try and then just seeing for yourself if it's that fit, but you don't know until you try. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much, Bryce. And, you know, and for dedicating yourself so much to this, because you really are changing lives. You're really empowering lives. You know,
I feel really privileged to be part of it and to be reminded of, you know, those people every day, for sure. It's lovely.
And we need more of that. We need more of that community celebration, participation, and support and camaraderie, and you know, it's everybody working together for one another. That's something that we need to go and do in every aspect of our lives. And if you're part of a sports team that's doing that, again, it's something you're going to take into every aspect of your life, because you understand the benefits of it, which is so important. Quickly give the sites again.
So victoriadragonboat.com for the Victoria Dragon Boat Festival, which is the second weekend of August, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. Anything to do with joining a team, the Cancer Survivors team, being what we're focusing on right now, is that fgpaddle.com. So foxtrotgolfpaddle.com.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you so much
for
your
so much,
dedication, Sarah, and for your caringness, and for everyone else. Come out and support them. Check the website out. And if you're out of town, come on down. Come and make it a holiday. Have an experience. And if you really think that dragon boating might be for you, but you've never known, couldn't you, go down and try. Go down and talk to Bryce. And
definitely,
you never know what you can do until you step up and try it. All right. Until next time, folks. Bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.